but it's not whether you fall down, it's how quickly you get up. And it's how quickly you're ahead of that curve to be able to make your businesses operate and function correctly. So just reinforcing everything. And as I say, we will learn by our mistakes as we go along. So there's no issues to that. And it's the way that we will view our competitive edge as well as everything else. We've got to look at different ways and different methods and different ideas to optimize our businesses as well as everything else. So the next slide will then start to create a little bit of thought. So Jamie, if you could go to the next slide, please. So this is a slide I just put in this week, in actual fact, and it's going to be the first question on the next slide. Has everybody got a golf journey? Does everybody know what the golf journey is for your particular business? And I'm going to give these different ideas. However, they do need planning. It's not me just coming on and then everybody says, yes, we need a golf journey and we can do it. It needs different thoughts, because though we all deliver golf, each business is different. It has its unique selling points or its different cultures, etc. But every golf club that I'm dealing with now, I insist that we get the teams, boards to really look a little bit more in detail of what they're doing. And this is just a very simple golf journey that I've created with a club, and it's quite happy to share that with anybody. But it's looking at that journey more in detail, and particularly what's going to happen for the future. So Jamie, could you just go on to the next one? We might come back to that in a minute.
No problem.
So preparing for the trends. So I have been for many years talking about customer experience and customer service, etc. But there is a user experience, and it's how we're going to restructure how clubs view their current and future membership. And I think what we need is to make sure that we designate people a little bit more to have that total responsibility. Someone who can communicate the customer experience strategy across the whole team, and which creates a culture of service innovation as well as everything else. So we all talk about customer service, we all talk about the experience of people coming up, and it's a little bit it's a little bit mixed up. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing on some occasions. Sometimes it's inconsistent. So my view is that we start to scrap the titles of some of those people that we've already got into our clubs and start to create different opportunities for them and give different responsibilities. So whether we have a customer experience manager, customer experience director, customer experience, somebody taking total responsibility at all times is probably the only thing. You know, I've worked at clubs and I've sat on boards or gone to sit on boards, and you say, who is in charge of each member coming up to the club? For what reason? Why do they come? And I'll come to that in a few moments, because one of the next slides is about personas. What are the type of personas that you're encouraging to your club? And certainly for the future, we need to get the youth familiar with what golf can offer. And I'm talking not of looking at elite players all the time. I'm talking about people using a club socially to interact. And of course, now we've got a lot of action on the health side of it, obesity, mental health, and etc. What a wonderful game to play and to be a part of. What a club environment. Even in these times that we're going through, these very challenging times, what a great game to be able to be a part of. And I think you've got more and more younger people now being invited to the clubs as well as everything else. Now, Daniel, you've got a family, and I know we've spoken on numerous occasions about you and that development, and I know we're going to start talking about families on the next slide, but you can understand my view of giving people the experience and for people to be a little bit more responsible about that user experience. And you must share this through PlayMoreGolf as well, yes?
Oh, absolutely. You know, we created the PlayMoreGolf business because
we were running golf clubs, and we were seeing that the average age of the traditional member was going up, and that group of people in the middle, those the 45-year-old audience, they were falling away. And we knew that if we wanted to attract juniors to come back and play the game, then in reality we needed mums and dads to come back to being members of the club, because I was 7. Would I ever have walked down the driveway of a golf club on my own, just uninvited? And I think you said something to me earlier, didn't you, that if you're not invited to the party, there'd be a pretty brave and courageous individual who invited themselves and just turned up. And at the age of 7, I think, well, for those people who remember, I wanted a bike. I wanted a rally grifter. And my dad gave me and my twin brother a half set of golf clubs that he cut down from his old clubs. And from that day forward, we were a member of a golf club. And I'm sure I speak for everybody on the call. I know I speak for both you and Jamie. Golf's given us everything. And it needn't be that we played at elite levels. It's actually, we loved the game, but we loved what the game gave us, which was spending really great time with our family, with our friends. And now, I'm a parent. The opportunity for me to play golf with my son and my daughter, and with my twin brother and his son and daughter. In the future, maybe me and my son and a couple of friends and their sons go off, play golf together for a long weekend. I can't think of anything I'd rather do.
Yeah, there you go.
And somebody had to invite me. It was my father. Someone had to invite me to the golf club in the first instance. So it's massive, Eddie. It's everything about the future, for the future of the game, isn't it?
It is. It's everything we're talking about now. I pinched this from you, but please share it. And I think it's how many golf clubs are actually in garages at the moment, somewhere along the country. Because I know I've got about 3 sets down here, but for those people that haven't played or etc. So I know we've talked about that. I know.
I genuinely, there are probably perceived to be 3 million golfers in the UK, aren't there? But there are 10 million sets of golf clubs in people's garages. And I think what we saw when golf courses reopened, it wasn't about people taking up the game from scratch. It was about people moving their children's bikes out of the way, finding their golf clubs, and then moving from the back of the garage to maybe the front of the garage. But for many people, those clubs moved into the boot of their car, didn't they? Yeah. And then this influx of joiners, and the joiners we saw come in that period of time, which were thousands, by the way, average age of 45. So it was this sort of lost generation of golfers that 93% of them had been members of golf clubs before. So it wasn't about teaching people a game. It was just about it coming back further towards the top of their priority. If it had been at the very top, there'd be a 7-day traditional member, but it wasn't, because they've got other commitments. But those clubs then found their way into the boot of the car. And we spoke about this before as well. It's very difficult for grandparents to bring their grandchildren to the game, because they're playing midweek generally, 3-4 times in the middle of the week, whilst their grandchildren are at school. But their parents, who have an affiliation with the game already, in the vast majority of cases, 93% of our members would say that, of our new members, parents can bring their children, can't they? Because they have a sort of same sort of time schedule, work in the week, school in the week, off at the weekend, week and evenings. So the opportunity is there for us. It's just about attracting mums and dads before we go bringing their children to the game, because all that really important organizations do and give lots of lessons to young people, unless there's a direct link with a golf club, it's really difficult for young Jamie or young Joanna to come to the sport unless she really has a host, and that's a really good family friend, or indeed your mother or your father. So vital.
You're absolutely right, and that brings me back to the point. If we've got the new people playing now or being reintroduced to it, they need a connection, and that's why we need people at the golf club to take responsibility, the user experience, whatever title we're giving them. Let's start to think about it. Jamie, would you just go back to that first slide of the customer journey, just to recapture a little bit about this? So we need to start to understand more about our customers, our members, and what they want. and we need to engage with them a little bit more. So this golf journey map is just really very basic for any club that wanting to start to just put their foot in the water a little bit and start to understand a little bit more. This will give you an indication. You can put the headings as you wish, but these are the main headings that I felt are very important. The journey doesn't start until that person makes that decision. Whatever you say, is somehow somebody's given him a light to hit her or she, him or her, to go and be involved in golf. We're looking at the website. The website now is probably the most important call card you've got. It's got to be exciting. It's got to have great photographs on there. It's got to have a mixture of photographs, not just a club with no people in it. It needs a club with full of people. So make sure you invest in what you're going to do and market it. It's not expensive marketing. Inbound contact. So who are the people that are going to make that contact? You've got to have people that are experienced to talk about people, who are going to connect, who are going to engage with people. It's so vital. People that are going to give people time and talk about and get to know them, create a relationship, booking the round. How simple is it to book a round of golf? I mean, most people think it's fairly simple. But if you're new to the game, or is the experience, are you getting other people to try booking around? Because are people actually telling you the truth of how easy it is? Outbound contact. So really, what's the information that you're receiving? Are you actually starting to be able to make that journey very, very easy? And I've got down here, you can see it drop down here in this content here. And before play, I'm going through this very quickly. So there's a huge story to this. So the arrival, the car park, the welcome reception, the pro shop are all team. Do you have a customer service strategy in terms of delivering it correctly? So everybody is working as a cohesive group to deliver. And I don't mean just the players at the front of the customer reaction. Even the greenkeepers are a huge part of the whole experience as we go around. So the play the round, get the greenkeepers. Are they actually waving? Are they doing something? Are the signage correctly? Again, I'm going through this very quickly. After play, how important is this? What are the offerings? This is the whole experience. The before play is important, the first impressions. This is coming to the nitty gritty now. Is everybody feeling good? Is everybody into the clubhouse? Is the signage right? Are the menus right? Everybody making a good contact? Have you had a good game? Is everybody connecting with people? And the farewell.
I think, Eddie, as a reference there, Eddie.
Yes, please.
You talk about greenkeepers. An example of that is that in an organisation that Jamie and I used to work for, actually, we created a small gift. It was a wooden ball marker, wasn't it? I think, Jamie.
Yeah.
And we gave 100 to every greenkeeper. So as they drove around the golf course, they had them on the dashboard of their tractor, their cutting machine. If they caught a customer doing something great, like, I know, preparing 2 pitch marks, making a great job of raking the bunker, replacing their divot, they would stop, walk towards the customer, the golfer, of which the golfer then suddenly thinks, oh my God, what have I done wrong?
Yep.
And the greenkeeper hands them a gift and says, thank you for helping look after the golf course.
Yep.
It cost us nothing, but the amount of feedback that came back to us because of that was immeasurable, and the benefits that it gave us, because it also brought all of our team members closer to all of our customers, all of our members, all of our players. And it was, in the real grand scheme of things, it's 2 bob and a conker. It was just an attitude change rather than a cash change.
Well, I love hearing things like that. That's so valuable. Low in cost, high in value. That is the important thing. And people will go away and say, look, what I've got here. And all you're doing is politely educating people as well as everything else. So important to be able to make sure you get that good message, and you're creating a good feel about it, and a good culture. The general content, does the player receive the right information after they leave? Are the customers satisfied? Do you actually phone them? How many times do I been with people to a golf club that signed in, they've given all the details, they're general, have played a good fee to be there, they've had a great day, they've walked away, And has anybody ever phoned them? Has anybody ever just had a personal phone call? Could have been, I could have been with Jamie or Daniel. We signed in, gone away. Make it a habit at your club. If you've got a guest that's come to the club, ring them up, ask them about them, get a critique. That's the only way that we're going to learn. All right, so that's, just wanted to briefly go over that, and I know how time really flashes by. So Jamie, if you'd go on to the next one, and I'll go on to my next trend. So then my next trend is golf tourism. This is now got to be a win-win. The potential, it can be a swift growth in your business. If you decide to look at it, you've got to put some research into it. I feel that there's some collaborative areas that you've got to look at. I know we're in COVID. I know it's going to create a little bit of challenges, but is there any people in your area? We have the greatest golf courses in the world. I have been very fortunate to travel the world in many areas, and some of the best in the world. But I will say it with all my heart that this country, the United Kingdom, has got the best golf courses here. And now we've had so many people going to Mallorca and Spain and Italy, etc. This is the holiday world is going to change dramatically. Flights are going to get more expensive, etc. Why aren't we capitalizing and getting people to come to our golf clubs? So you could be one of the, I don't like using all of them, one of our hidden gems up and down the country. Not expensive, good value, but there could be a cluster of golf clubs that you get together, maybe 3 of you, and just start to work and collaborate within yourselves. You can all be different, but you can all give a wonderful experience. There must be some Airbnbs. I'm just giving different ideas out that I know that some businesses are already doing in preparation for next year. Some Airbnbs, yes, there's COVID issues, but get the health priorities there, and people need to be looked after. Coming back to that user experience, find methods to be able to capitalize on our tourism within the golf sector. What else, what other experience within your regional areas can you deliver? Some good food experiences. Get together, get some thought pans. They've got a gentleman that the golf tourism, Andrew Cook. I know he's done a lot of work on this, but you can do it on your own as well as everything else. You can have that help. Is the local tourism boards helping? I don't know, but really I'm just giving those ideas. And I do know clubs that have been progressive and are working down this type of strategy, but it does need some thought, it needs some planning. Have you come across any of that ideas there, Daniel?
I think you're right when you talk about golf clubs clustering to do this.
Yeah.
Because in essence, sometimes I feel golf clubs feel like they have to sort of, beat the brains out of their local competition. They have, they're in competition with them, but in reality, if they work in partnership with clubs that they, of equal standing, clubs they respect, organizations they can work with, drawing people from other, we would know from all of our experience, average drive time for somebody coming away for a golf break, somewhere between an hour and 2 hours. So look at the large conurbations in that sort of drive zone. It rather stereotypical, but the guys like to think, and the girls like to think they've come further enough away from home, but they don't want to go too far, because there's every chance when they drive home at the end of a 2-night stay that they're going to they might be carrying a hangover with them as well, mightn't they? If it'd be a true golf trip for anybody, and that within 1 hour and 2 hour drive time is a vital component. So look at the big areas. I think also, social media is a vital component. If you don't have a decent website and you don't have a footprint in social media, it's a bit like historically owning a shop and then painting over the front window, because nobody can see you. You're invisible. And I am 50 years of age, and so I have an understanding of social media. But my children at 15 and 17, they are social media ninja. They need to do it themselves. They just need to have people within the club who can do it, and that may well be children of members. It could be children's children of members, but I would embrace the people who love social media. If you've got children, my children spend too much time in some people's view on social media, but they do it because they love it. It's how they communicate with their friends and their new friends. So it's not a chore to them. They would embrace it, and they'd have they it would be you'd be astounded about the impact that can have on golf clubs.
Well, you've moved on to the next one, so that's very prompt really for me. But coming back to the tourism, it's seeing the wood for the trees. Yes, it needs some planning, but it can be done. And we've got to look at new ways to grow your businesses, to create a better profile, to make people want to come and play within your area as well. So don't underestimate your golf courses and your unique opportunities to grow that business as well. So you've just mentioned the technology. Absolutely. This is my concern now, is where we've come along in the last 8 months has been amazing. We've created the sort of technology strategy within some clubs that would have taken us 3 years to get there, and we've done it overnight. A lot of clubs that hadn't got a starting sheet, etc., to be able to go online have now got it. I mean, that's amazing. And you needed that to be able to manage your club quite clearly and to be able to have control over it. So I think that this is a positive. And the rise of the digital golfer, you've just mentioned it, Daniel. It's so important. There's so many different opportunities coming on board now. I went to a club just recently and they've got a digital screen for me to choose my menu. They don't want any connection. They don't want paper. They don't want anything. This is COVID direction. I look on my screen on my iPhone and there it is. There's the menu and I choose from it. So these are things that are happening overnight. And as I said, this would have taken 3 years to get there. We've just done this within 8 months. There's a new area on board now, of course, connected with apps. And if your club hasn't got an app at the moment, then you really do need to start looking at that, really seriously at that, because that creates the community spirit as well. It gets people involved. It makes people feel a part of that club, part of that brand. And I don't know if you've come across the iBeacon technology that's designed to improve membership engagement. It's creating an opportunity with that customer service as well as everything else. So these are areas that are there for us. Some of them I don't even know about, I have to admit, but from a point of view, my point to any board is now, are you looking seriously at building a technology strategy? And make sure you get the right people on board that can deliver that strategy for you.
I think there, Eddie, you're right. I mean, I think it got, we know golf is maybe a little slow to pick up new ideas and run with them, but I think the necessity that's been introduced over the last 6 or 7 months has really driven some of that. I attend. We have nearly 300 club partners for PlayMoreGolf. I attend club board meetings on Zoom.
Yeah.
So actually, and then there are clubs that we've been talking to for a little while who have actually, they've completed their partnership arrangement with us online. I mean, I could never have envisaged that, just literally a few months ago. And clubs are starting to understand that. But the only thing I would say, bear this in mind, is that wherever we've got to, we are just going to continue to move in that direction, because you mentioned iPhone earlier. My children will have an iPhone 12. I think this is an 8 or 9, not sure. But no one's going back to buy an iPhone 1, are they? No. So even in the golf industry, we're going to continue to move forward. And things like Zoom, things like online booking, things like clubs working in partnership with each other on a technical level. All those things are here to stay, and they're just going to become the foundations of more technical advances in the future.
Yep. Well, that allows me to move on to club interior designs. I think we've all been to clubs that we respect, but things are changing. Interior designs, in my view, are pretty poor. I want to go into a club that's welcoming. I want to go into a club that you can now start to see they're optimizing their spaces. They're creating that opportunity to be able to be something different. Clubs that are now looking at the sort of more contemporary interior design are going to attract a different audience completely. there's no question that to get females involved in golf, there has to have had been a change, because the previously walking into this masculine sort of environment has been certainly off-putting. And we'll have many that have children or have grandchildren really, that can recognize that. So the rate that now we're starting to see progressive clubs really look at the interior design, what they want, a type of business that they want to attract, and then future membership they want to attract, as well as everything else. So that's really high on my list for clubs to start to look at themselves a little bit more. Okay, next one, please, Jamie. Thank you. So create a thorough communications plan. Well, you probably all now, have you all put your generations in there? Because there was a reason for that. So what do the next generations of members need? Well, where I've been doing quite a lot of work recently, and I did mention it before, is to start to look at creating a persona. It's a fictional character, but it provides their interest. It gives the clubs the personalities, their goals, their motivations, their pain points. And this can help clubs to understand really what your customer needs, how to help you to grow your business as well as everything else. And it creates conversation within your board. That's the important thing. So it's just looking a little bit more outside the box and starting to see, where do you want your next membership to go, and what are they actually wanting from the membership? Because if you don't ask them, they're not going to be able to tell you either as well. And you can't assume you know, because you really don't. And I'll come to that in a few moments, which is really communicating to those different generations, third on my list. So the next point is families. Our clubs, are you really prepared for families? We do a lot of talking about it, and no question that the main governing bodies are trying to do a lot, and they're talking a lot. But we've got to really look at it a little bit more in depth. You've got to have the right people to be able to deliver the right service for that family, and be able to start to see them a little bit more for what their needs. Is it their requirements? Is it their menus that you've got to start to look at? Because menus and the F&B is changing dramatically. And obviously we've just talked about technology. And I think Daniel, we had a story the other week about, I know that you're very much from the family point of view, but please share with everybody the story, which I found quite amazing and really very good, is about you're playing golf and your favorite football team's on board, and you didn't, I think about going home, but your son had a different view about still playing golf. Is that right?
Well, I think you might have combined two stories there. There's one that we're season ticket holders at Old Trafford.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And he and so I asked him if he wanted to go to the game, and he's 17 years of age, and he said, well, it takes an hour to get there. We get there half an hour before. We watch the game for 2 hours. It takes an hour and a half to get home. He could go and watch a team that he loves, and he says, you know what? I'll just stay home and watch 20 minutes worth of highlights on my phone. And so that's the youth's approach. So we need to find ways in which we can attract them to the game that they enjoy. And I do believe that actually playing the game is the thing that will hook them the most. I remember being 7 years of age and getting the bug. Well, I only got the bug because someone took me to the golf course. And so we talked on a previous call, didn't we, about golf clubs maybe on a Sunday afternoon closing the practice facility, whether it's a big facility or not, and actually preparing 9 short holes on the practice field. And then why would you not ask all of the members, and we know the average age of a golf member is north of 60. We could debate a long time whether it was 62 or 65, it's not hugely relevant. But if we just opened up the practice facility for them to invite their children, now their children might be somewhere in their 40s, and for their children to invite their children, so the members' grandchildren, to the golf course to just have some fun playing short golf on a practice range. Now, what's the worst thing that could happen? The noise of children laughing and having fun could be overheard on a golf course. Now, but that's what triggered me, and I'm sure probably everybody on this call, to one reason or another, to the game. And then when my children say to me, and they, they're very adept sports, young men and women playing for the county and even the country, and so there's no opportunity really to play golf, even though I like you, got a garage full of golf clubs. When we locked down and we could go back and just play golf, my children are coming to their dad saying, can we go and play golf? I am the happiest man on the planet at that point, because I then get to spend 3 or 4 hours with my children, shooting the breeze like you do when you play golf, but having some fun and embedding this game in their future. They now have clubs and shoes and everything they need to play the game. And they're the people who are saying to me, when can we go next? Now, that in itself fills me with joy. So if we could just get, and the last 2 businesses that I've been part of designing golf clubs and golf courses for the future, we've designed that actually into the practice grounds. But it really doesn't take, it doesn't need that amount of time, effort, or investment. It could just be the greenkeeping team cut 9 greens, put some markers out on the practice field, and then close the facility on a Sunday afternoon and let families come and enjoy themselves for free.
You're absolutely right. And you've got some great golf pros now, male and female, that are really prepared to add their sort of entertainment value to it as well, and different ideas for families. I think it's such a win-win again, that we've got to look at clubs really embracing it as much as anything else. Let me share a story with you. It's about 3 or 4 years ago. I was coming up from the 18th at Goodwood, as a number of you are aware. I'm heavily involved at Goodwood, and I came up there, and out on the front there, that we've got a moat, but out of the front there was children. There was about sort of 8 children running around, playing and having fun. And, it gave me so much delight. And what had happened, of course, actually seeing a plan come together. This is the beauty about it. The plan coming together was that I did know that there was also there was 4 families in there. So there were probably 2 children, obviously, but from the points of view. But what had happened is that they'd been playing golf and they'd come back to the club, and the children could run around. Mother and father were in the clubhouse, enjoying themselves and investing back into the club as well as everything else. They were enjoying the opportunity to go and relax and have a family time and still be with their family as well as everything. And those are just very, very simple points to be able to generate and look at growing that opportunity within a club environment. So it's a win-win. So next one is, how do you communicate? Right, we've got now, in my view, this is going to be, it's going to be more popular. We've got 5 generations now that are going to probably be members of the club. This is going to be possible now. But you do need to know how you're going to communicate moving forward. And the title of this slide is Create a Thorough Communications Plan. And I can't emphasize it enough. We always talk about improving communications, but this is something on its own. You've got 5 different generations there that you've probably got to start speaking in a different language, a different tone, being able to understand and listen carefully. The other side, of course, is that you've got opportunities now. You've got 4 generations that could be in the workforce, because you've also got to understand how to gel those teams together if you've got that mixture of generations working for you. And that, again, is being able to create that, improve that culture within that your particular club, to be able to grow and make it concise, and to be able to be a friendly environment to work in as well. So just again, for any club thinking about their membership and coming back to the user experience and understanding it a little bit more in detail, the user experience is the baby boomers born between 42 and 65, Generation X, which is from 66 to 1980, the millenniums, which is 1981 to 96, Generation X now is 97 to 2010, and Generation Alpha is from 2011. So you could potentially have that opportunity to be able to communicate within your clubs. Next one, please, Jamie. So I know time's going on a bit for us here. So team, this is an important part here. And I've pinched this and I've used it now. I've just done some work in Canada, and I've used the word teamship. I've pinched it from Clive Woodward. It's in his book, and I thought there is leadership within a club, of course, but teamship is going to be so vital, because it's important to align people. The cultural rhythm that is connected within a club is essential. People also, to get people to be liberated within the business, to be able to share the opportunities totally. So everybody is a part of this teamship as you grow. And you recognize culture when you go into a club. You recognize the friendly culture, the connection. You can't expect, you can't explain culture sometimes, but you feel it. There's no question about that. And there is a saying, it's how you make people feel. It's not what they see, what they have, but it's how you make people feel. And so many times you walk into a club and find simple decisions come to a halt. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. And that is down to clarity of being able to create this structure where everybody is a part of this wonderful journey from the beginning. If we can go just to the next slide, and this is a slide that I've created myself over a few years, and it hasn't come up quite as I expected for some reason. Okay, I can remember this. There is a bit more to it. Is it? Ah, there it is. Okay.
There we go.
Ah, okay. So I've created this just purely, if you take the customer at the end, that's your goal really. But the 30% plus 70% equals success. There's no question about that. So when you join a club, when you employ anybody or bring people into a club, yes, there are certain customs that you need to be a part of. A strategy, the mission statement, the vision, your values, understanding the culture, and yes, understanding the history, because people have got to embrace, why is the club there? Why was it there right in the beginning? What was the initial vision of the person that was there in 1924 or 1930s or 1940s? But you've got to know that history. However, what then you've got to create is, I want people who have got a great personality, that understand the delivery of that customer or member coming in, the character of that individual. Is that person going to be expressive, vibrant, be able to connect and engage with people, and always the quality of that individual. But it's your job really, if you're into the management or to the board, to be able to have a strategy to be able to make sure that the right people come into your business. And the natural friendliness and caring and attention. Now that is without question, once you get that team culture, it becomes addictive. And no question that then the customers benefit. And if the customers benefit, then your retention is longer, easier. You get more members wanting to join, you have a waiting list, and you create that culture. It's
also, Eddie, it
Yes.
also means that when visitors visit the club, and visitors are the lifeline of the club, because they are future members, aren't they?
Yeah.
When a visitor comes and feels that they are embraced by a club. Because I was talking to a golf club recently, and it's an example rather than it having to be across the industry, across the golf world. But I genuinely sat with a group of people who felt, they didn't say it so much, but what they really implied was they feel more belonging and more togetherness with the club by making visitors feel less welcome, because it was our club. It's bizarre. Yeah. But actually, the future of our game is about embracing visitors and showing them the very best of the club. So they speak positively. They'd love to join given an opportunity. They want to come as a group of visitors. They want to come back because there's a special feeling around the club. And it's so vital. And lots of clubs get that right. But you don't have to visit too many clubs to find some that still feel that sense of belonging is heightened by making it almost unwelcome to others. And that's not the way that golf clubs are going to strive and survive, is it?
Well, you mentioned about tradition, and in my introduction, the tradition. I think tradition is important, and that comes down to the history.
100%.
But tradition is fine, but if it impedes on progress, then you've got to do something about it. You've got to do something about it. So this comes back to getting people involved, and it's wrapping the human service around everybody, even more so than you ever have done before. And it's a powerful sense of purpose that everybody's involved into that business. There's nothing greater than when you do go and experience a day out, and you just have people that say, that's my mantra really. Yes is the answer. What's the question? Because you're there to enjoy yourself, have fun. And you've mentioned this on a number of occasions, have fun, but create that opportunity as well. So hopefully that little diagram slide resonates with a number of people. So 2020, yes, please, Jamie, I'm conscious of time a bit now. So 2020's expectations, I'm just going to read them through to you. This is my view. Members will expect their clubs to know their business intimately and personalize the experience. So personalized experience for all those 5 generations. Please think about it. Have a user experience. Have somebody who's going to be responsible for it. If you need any help, any guidance, etc., for goodness sake, ring me. I'll be very happy to help you. Members will expect their clubs to be more proactive, anticipating their current and future needs. Think about it. This is the journey that's going to go round and round. So you've got to think ahead. Members will determine the experience they want and will expect clubs to enable that experience through various channels, including mobile, social, and personal interactions. Personal interactions, events at the club are going to be very, very important. We're going to go back a little bit where people are going to want that community spirit. They're going to want to engage, interact with people. Social interaction, social intercourse with people, and got to be able to deliver that as well as everything else. So if we can all follow those 3 areas, I guarantee you'll be here in 2 years' time and your business will have boomed, no question. Go on, I think, carry on, please, Jamie. I think we're there now.
That's right. Before
leave it for you now.
That's right. Before Daniel goes through this section here, I'm just about to launch a poll, everybody. Those of you obviously have joined us from golf clubs today. It's just a few questions and your thoughts on what you've seen at your club in 2020, but also what 2021 looks like. Question 1 is about people joining your club since the first lockdown was released in mid-May. And then it's a couple of questions in regards to any uncertainty in a few areas that you might have for 2021 based on the past 12 months and beyond that into 2019 and what next year looks like. And then obviously looking at some, those people that have joined post first lockdown in mid-May and what you believe their behavior would look like when it comes to renewal next year at your club. So I'm just going to launch that now. So whilst Daniel's going through the next slide, if you can give us your thoughts, that'll be fantastic. All right, Daniel, over to you. 2 seconds.
Thanks, Jamie. I'll just leave it for a couple of seconds while people answer the poll, and I'll pick it up.
Great.
Eddie, thank you so much for your view. I think it'll be very helpful to people on the call and the wider audience that share the recording of this. Having a plan of how you can bring new members or indeed get members to return to your club because you've enhanced the environment and the atmosphere is vital for us all to grow the number of members that we have at golf clubs. I'd ask anybody on the call that if there are things within the call that have prompted you to have a thought, to think about what next year looks like, myself, Jamie, or indeed any of the team members at PlayMoreGolf would love to do what might be called a health check with you to talk about, some thoughts about what next year looks like. This is not a sales pitch. This is not us saying, let's come and sell you PlayMoreGolf. We have between us, I know, in excess of 150 years worth of experience of working in the golf industry. And we work with private member golf clubs, we work with big corporate groups, we work with proprietary golf clubs. And if it was nothing other than a 20-minute, half an hour phone call with one of us or the team to chew the fat over what next year could look like, we'd love that opportunity. So drop myself or Jamie an email. My email address is daniel@playmore.golf. And we'd love to do anything we possibly can to help and support the growth of the game. And it's one of the key things to me. The key things are that since May, the average age of our member has been 45. They've come and they've rejoined golf clubs. These are not people who are learning the game. These are people, for a number of reasons, over many years, have forgone their membership. And for them to do that, it's not too unlike a divorce. You know, that for a number of years, they will have talked to their friends about staying or leaving and staying or leaving. And at some point, they chose to leave. Whether that's normally because they're not extracting enough value, whether that's a financial value or a time value out of their membership. And on that basis, they stepped away. And for golf clubs to look to almost sell them back something they had an extended divorce from, really unlikely members will rejoin back on something that they painfully gave up. So finding a category of membership with us or with locally at the club that actually fits that person's requirements. You know, if they wanted to play at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, 40 weeks a year, they would have a 7-day membership because it would be pivotal in their priority order. If they want to play 8, 10, 15 times a year in the middle of the week, in the afternoon, but actually they still want to feel like they belong. Eddie, you talked about it earlier. This is not just a financial decision, this is an emotional decision. Belonging to a golf club is fabulous. It's intrinsic to how people undertake the game and how they can bring their children or their grandchildren to it. So finding different ways in which you can bring these customers back to being members. Because if not, the club stay in the garage and they'll play infrequent golf on a sort of a daily fee, pay and play basis. But I can assure you from all the work we've done, a really high percentage of those people would love to be a member of a golf club again, if it suited what they were looking for. And you used a phone analogy before, Eddie. You know, you and I might have identical telephones. Most likely we will have a different phone package. And that's just golfers. Why would everybody want an iPhone 12 with £100 a month contract? They wouldn't. It doesn't make them any more or any less valuable, and doesn't make them any more or any less a member. And I think having a view for next year, I see that tens of thousands of people rebought a membership this year. And I'm nervous that a large proportion of them, traveling through winter, traveling through with uncertain financial times, that when they're presented with a full priced membership in February, March or April next year, that not enough of them will renew their membership because they haven't got furlough to look forward to. They're not going to play 70 games of golf in the middle 4 months of the year. And I think what are golf clubs doing to capture those people who they've worked so hard to get, and the thought of them falling at the bottom of the colander. You know, I started this business because I wanted to grow the game and get more people playing it. The thought that we got them back, and now too many, 65, 70% of them, in my estimation, are going to fall away again. And in reality, they're those 45-year-old people who are going to bring their children. And they are the future and the future's future of each and every golf club in the country. So I think we're approaching time, aren't we, Eddie? I think I might have spotted you take a little peek at your watch there. So all I would say is that there are mine and Eddie's details are there. Eddie is fabulous at this. If you have some questions or have some thoughts around the future of your golf club, just drop him an email, give him a call. He will offer you advice to do that. And again, it's not a sales pitch. There's no invoice hiding behind this. Just really happy to help in any way we can. And Eddie, I'd like to thank you at this point as well. You've been a friend for many years, but I lean on you not just for friendship. I lean on you for advice and guidance. And thanks again for today.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Daniel, for your kind words, and thank you everybody that's listened. And I'm sorry if I could answer any questions, but by all means, if you have any questions, then just email me. I'll be more than happy to answer them. I've just got a time restriction. That's all. All right.
That's all right. Thanks, guys. And then everyone who's on here, what we'll do is that this is obviously a repeat session of what we also held a couple of weeks ago. So we'll distribute the session from a couple of weeks ago on the basis that there were 10-15 questions in the Q&A afterwards, although it lasted a bit longer than this session. So we'll redistribute the recording of that to all of you, so you can pick up on the questions that are asked, and just in case you were thinking of the same. So we'll redistribute that. That'll come from a member of the team over the next few days. So keep an eye on your inbox for that, everyone, as well. So thank you very much. And on that note, we'll say goodbye. Thanks again, Eddie. Thanks again, Daniel, and thanks everyone for coming along. We'll
Thank
see
you,
soon.
everybody, and all the very best this week to everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
guys.
everybody.
See you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.